Hi, Martin here. I'm just going to review a floor pump made by BlackBurn. It's a chamber high volume. I've just found the instruction on this. This pump has a lifetime warranty. It has a 4-foot hose on it, which is nice and long, which means if you're on a stand, you can pump this up quite well. There's a press to wrench Schrader valve on this side, and if you wanted to unscrew it, you need a little gentle little pick. Pick that little rubber plug out, swap it. You can use a Dunlop valve. There's a lot of good features. It's got a nice sturdy handle with metal, aluminium. An air bleed valve if you wanted to do that. Big 4-inch gauge. Metal floor, metal body. Bottle opener for people in Europe and America. In Australia we have twist tops, and I drink cans actually. And you've got a 31.8mm diameter top holder here. This has got a full metal knurled handle, which is super comfy. But I took out my old bars. These are some 800mm carbon bars. These are 35mm, which means I can't mount them on there. But if you had some 31.8s, that's roughly what it would look like with 800s. Just for the fun factor. I think you would get pretty good at push-ups using those. Let's put those back. Alright, let's get into the party end. So we got a 29er by 2.5 tyres. There's my new 29er Firebird. These are quite large. I've got tubes in the front, tubeless in the rear. I'm going to go to a tube anyway down the track when I'm putting a new tyre on there within a week. But this tube is at 0 psi. I use a toe peak gauge anyway generally for my general riding. So that's on Presto valve. Whoop, and as you can see, 0 psi. Let's plug this in. So just give it a nice push. And when it's flat, you got to give that a bit of a tug. Pull that up, tight as. Let's give it a pump. Top of my head, it's about 20 pumps, up to 30 psi. I generally run the front on about 29. It's got a really long stroke. So once you're getting up around the 20 psi marker, you're starting to put in about 2 psi each pump, which is quite a lot. You got a bit worried when you want to do one, just a bit of half a stroke. Now, if you, I do find the gauge is out by about 1 psi, 2 at most. So say we pump this up to 32, and we'll see what we get. So we're at 32 on the gauge. Let's plug this out. Easy removal. They do wear out. Like when it was brand new, it was quite tight. When you got a Schrader valve, like my girlfriend's 26-inch bike, they all go up nearly 5-6 psi each pump. That's mental how much volume comes out of this pump. But it is quite tight to put it on there, so you kind of got to hold the tyre. But you just get used to it. I bought this for my own bike, but it works for both. Let's get the toe peak going. So we got obviously on, press the valve. Let's get this pump. 30 psi, probably lost about 1. Putting it in. As you can tell, this is out by 1 or 2 psi. Now the other thing you can do with this pump is obviously let the air out of it. So if you wanted to put back on, hook it up. This gauge won't really work that great until you put a power stroke in there. So it's 26 at the moment, but if you just put a little, we're straight up to 30, which is probably, well, it was 30 before when we read, but probably about 29 because I lost a bit of air when we plug it in there. So if you did want to let the air out of it, what some people complain, you just got to press the red button. As you press it, you can see the gauge is a bit funny. That's because it has to measure it off here, so you have to let the air pressure come out and then obviously pressure through. It's quite a small rubber hose, but it's fine. As it goes down, you will get an inaccurate rate gauge until you put a bit of a pressure pump in there. So if you just put that half a click in there, we're at 29 psi. So if I take this out again, click the gauge on, 28. So about 1 psi out. I don't know how accurate you are. If you love your tyres spot on, you're probably going to be buying one of these gauges anyway, as they have a own air release valve, and you can adjust them, but that's for down the track. So, final take. The pump's pretty good. You do find the reason this got a nice large 4-inch gauge, but the reason it's probably out, I didn't mention. You can see on the lower there, that's how big of a gauge is, which is probably a standard gauge on most other ones like Toe Peaks. Nice little runner in here, so full steel floor, steel top. This would obviously all be bolted together, so it's fully serviceable. You've got a screw top, and there's no wiggle in this at all. It's mega tight, pumps a lot of air in. Generally when you store the pump away, you can just run it through here, and there's another pump in here, another holder, but that's about it. I got this pump from 99 Bikes. It cost me about $110. I did a bit of a review on it, bit of a research. Yeah, this pump kind of won me over. So it's 700 millimeters high, say 730 sitting still, which is about 29 inches for the Yankees, or 2 foot and 5 inches, I believe. 2, 4, 5. But yeah, it is pretty good. The gauge kind of lets it down, and that's what some people complain about, but I think if you were to get a smaller gauge, it would be spot on, because they use a larger gauge with the bottom as it is. As it comes around, if this was smaller, the increments would be a lot closer, which means it would probably read as you would see it. But as the gauge comes out with a smaller one, you're going to get a bit of variance. But there's pumping up tyres, it's fine. Obviously popping tyres with tubes on it, no problems. I haven't tried to pop a tyre with tubeless on the rear with it. Some people say that you might be able to do it, but yeah, you want to be pumping pretty quick, and you're probably going to want to have a nice tight tyre, like a double down. These are 3Cs Max Terras, so they're already nice and tight from the inside. As they come out, you're not going to lose a lot of air, but that's not what it's for. It's for every time before I go for a ride, checking my tyre pressures, and I'm sick of using a small pump. The floor pump's just nice and quick. I hope you like the review. Bit quick one, but yeah, it is a good pump.